Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is one of my Asian movie collection addendum videos. Tonight we're going to be going through a bunch of horror movies that I purchased over the course of the last year. Got a nice stack of Hong Kong stuff here, some Japanese, some Korean, and then some Thai and Indonesian films. So let's get cracking here. Now the first one is a Hong Kong movie that I actually have a review of on my channel. And this is called Mortuary Blues. Mortuary Blues. This is the Hong Kong Region A release. I bought this off of DDD House, I believe. Now the premise of this one is that the rays of the moon bring a coven of zombies back to life. A special police squad is assigned to stop them. So if you want a lot of details, check out my full-length review. But this was made in 1990, a Hong Kong horror comedy. And it's surprisingly entertaining. Even if you're not the biggest fan of Hong Kong horror comedies, this is one of the ones that I would definitely recommend to check out. There's quite a bit of humor in this, as well as time spent with our goofy performance troupe protagonists. And, some of the comedy's wacky slapstick, but I think it works pretty well. The actors do a good job overall. And it has some pretty cool set pieces. There are this is a film that kind of really relies on its set pieces a lot, and they come through very solid. So, Kor Yun is in this, one of the actors, and I would have to say that I would borderline strongly recommend this. This is good to very good stuff right here. So if you haven't seen Mortuary Blues, check it out. I think most people will enjoy it. The next one here is called Bless This House. Yes, Bless This House. And this was a film from 1988, another horror comedy. And we have a building designer, Bill, and his family move into a seemingly wonderful house, but they are not aware that the house is haunted. And very basic setup. You just try to set up the family unit. The horror elements don't actually ramp up until after the 30-minute mark in this. Kind of basic haunted house stuff with some poltergeist-like activity. And it's a little bit more laid back from a Hong Kong film of its kind, especially if you compare it to Mortuary Blues. This movie's like a laid-back, almost like Western cinema film compared to what Hong Kong was doing at the time. And I would say that, the evil spirits, a lot of times you don't even really see them until the very end. And I would have to say the other problem here is that there's no highlight horror sequences. Again, unlike Mortuary Blues, this doesn't really rely on its set pieces as much. It's just kind of like a bunch of nice little moments just kind of stacked into a film. So I think, this is not as good as Mortuary Blues, but the finale is quite good, and it's worth a watch. Bless This House. This was a Region 3 DVD that I got on DDD House. That website usually has both DVDs and Blu-rays for movies, but once in a while it's just one or the other, so you might just have to choose. Alright, here's another Hong Kong horror comedy again. This one is called Last Ghost Standing. This is from 1999. So a full decade later, basically, from the other two films. On New Year's Eve, in the year 2000, a cinema presents its last show before closure. Unfortunately, Satan arises, who is very unsatisfied with the modern movie quality. Okay, and he creates a gory bloodbath inside of the cinema. So if you're expecting this to be like the Hong Kong version of Demons, you're not gonna. It's not gonna be satisfying. I mean, this is not even remotely as good as Demons, so do not expect that, please. This film's okay. It's got a few pretty good death scenes. The red demon ghost is kind of cool looking. There's a scene with a flying decapitated head, which is always welcome. And there's a scene with a possessed hand. It's kind of like Evil Dead reference. But overall, I kind of like the deformed monster type scenes in this, which are pretty neat. And some scenes are delightfully stupid. And so it's kind of refreshing watching this schlock nowadays. And of course, the movie theater setting is a plus, and Francis Inc. has a cameo. So, yeah, this one is definitely weaker than the prior two films I just mentioned. Watchable fluff, I would say. I'd say it's watchable fluff. This is, again, the Hong Kong, it's all region Blu-ray, which is nice. And I got this off of DDD House as well. Now, the next one's kind of like a higher profile flick. I've covered multiple times on this channel. And that is The Sleep Curse. Yes, The Sleep Curse. This is the one directed by Herman Yao, starring Anthony Wong. I just did another review of this. I did a full-length review and then a shorter review just the past few weeks in my Asian horror playlist video from 2017. And this is the one that where you have this like dude who's engaging in experiments involving sleep, and stuff gets messed up. Things get messed up. Very violent ending. Pretty slow burn film, but a good overall quality movie. Very good overall quality with a nice slow burn ending, or slow burn with a really intense ending, I should say. Now this one actually does have some special features. You get the making of, trailers, a slideshow, etc. And that's about 17 minutes, it says, of special features. I'm not sure where I got this one from. I think this might be another DDD House purchase. So, and this is Region A, a Region A Hong Kong Blu-ray. I don't think there were any special features on these others. Nothing. So, it's one of the downsides of ordering Blu-rays from Hong Kong. Sometimes there's like no special features at all. Alright, our next film here is called Horrible High Heels. Yes, Horrible High Heels. I did a full-length review of this. This is another one of those Hong Kong Blu-rays. This is just Region A. No special features. Wong is the owner of a shoe factory, and he has been admiring Cao Ling for a very long time. To please her, he kills her rival man and uses her skin to make shoes. Cao Ling is extremely terrified because of this. And, anybody who uses skin to make shoes, you know it's got to be a Category 3 movie. And I believe this one was. This is a pretty good flick. Again, check out my full-length review if you want any details. It's not as intense or as crazy as, like, Untold Story or Ebola Syndrome or, like, any of the other high-profile films. You know, it's got some scenes that were a little dicey. A little dicey. For sure. And I believe this is the uncut version as well. There was a cut version floating around back in the day, and people were mentioning scenes to me that I was like, that wasn't in that movie. And they're like, oh, you saw the cut version. So if you're going to watch this, definitely watch the uncut version here. But yes, it's entertaining enough if you're into like those inappropriate Hong Kong films. Now we got kind of a 4-pack here. This is a franchise of films I just started covering, and I covered them all in one video. Of course, I'm talking about The Happy Ghost. Yes, Happy Ghost. Look at that. This is a Hong Kong supernatural comedy with a tiny little sprinkling of spookiness in it. And, if you want any details on any of these, just go to the video I just posted like a week or two ago discussing the Happy Ghost films. The first 5 films I reviewed, but only the first 4 are available on Blu-ray from Hong Kong. And, these films are basically about a ghost that gets, like, I guess, forced to interact with teenagers in the first film. And then the second film, the ghost gets, like, reincarnated into a teacher, and he has to deal with, like, these snotty kids, and supernatural shenanigans occurs. And then the third one, Maggie Chung shows up, And she's like a mischievous ghost who makes some guy's life a living hell for laughs. And then the fourth one continues on with a different storyline of its own. So it's I think this franchise is actually pretty solid. The first three are especially entertaining, and then when you get to the fourth one, it's not as good, but still passable. You can see Maggie Chung right there flying in the air. I actually think a lot of people would like these movies if they check them out, even if they're not into wacky comedies, because they're just I don't know. There's something about them. They're actually funny. And they have some scenes you'll never see in any other movie. Really. I remember the fourth one has a few scenes involving invisibility, which are kind of neat. Yeah, no special features in any of those. But again, I would suggest maybe watch the first one if you like it, then watch the second and third. And then if you like those, then you can move on to the rest. And of course, I mean, I've already bought these movies at least one time. I got the Mr. Vampire DVD set from DDD House because it was cheaper. I got it kind of on sale. I had like a coupon, I think, too. And I liked, when I rewatched the movies again a few years ago, I loved them so much. I'm like, I need to get the Blu-rays. So I just got the Blu-ray set as well. All Region A's from Hong Kong, and they come in a box set. And I would say like the best films of this franchise are part 1 and 3, but 2, 4, and 5 are all very solid as well. You know, about the hopping vampires and kung fu and martial arts and spell casting. So yeah, I highly recommend the Mr. Vampire franchise if you have not seen it. It's pretty fantastic. And I reviewed all of those in separate reviews, I think like 2 years ago, if you want more details on each of them. All right, let's do Korea next. All right, and a few of these I also reviewed very recently. First one here is actually a Region 3 DVD of Whispering Corridor 6. Now, this DVD I got off of Yes Asia, which is usually money for Korean DVDs. For some reason, this edition does not have English subtitles, so I had to watch it like online on kind of like a shady site just to see it with subs. And I have a full-length review of this up, and it's watchable, which is an improvement over Part 5, but it's still not on the level of the first 4 films in this franchise. You know, and I go into pretty good detail as to why I feel that way in this. Acting is good, production values are good, direction's good, and there's certain scenes of intensity in this and spookiness that are good, but like the script I thought was a little weak at times, and it just lost the core of the franchise at this point. Really isn't, no longer exists. You know, the dynamics of schoolgirl friendship and things like that. So, but still, it's watchable. It's watchable. Then we have a Region 3 DVD with English subtitles, and that is the Grotesque Mansion, also known as Ghost Mansion. Separate review for this on my channel. And this is one, it's like an anthology, but each of the stories kind of relate to each other. And there's like a wraparound segment that goes through all of them, and that kind of ties into the different short films. So it's, you know, it's a dude who like looking for inspiration for writing, so he goes to like almost like an abandoned apartment complex, and he talks with the guy who's kind of taking care of it, the caretaker, and he tells him a bunch of ghost stories. And there's like 4 or 5 short films in this, and each of them to varying degrees of quality. None of them are bad though. I'd say that there are a few that are kind of standouts though in terms of creepiness. So I would say, yeah, this is another one that I think a lot of people would like if they were to watch it. The Grotesque Mansion, also known as Ghost Mansion. Here's one, a Korean one that's actually pretty cool. Wasn't really expecting a lot from this. This is Dead Man's Prey. Dead Man's Prey, also known as The Cursed. And, I picked it up, and when I was watching it, it almost seemed like it was going to be like a zombie movie, and it technically is. But these zombies are totally different from like the zombies you typically see in movies. So these zombies kind of act in a coordinated fashion against a single target. So almost like somebody's using these things, these undead entities, as like assassins, which is it's pretty cool. You get a few really neat action suspense scenes with some horror stuff mixed in. Check out my review of this. I think this is a pretty neat flick. There's one big set piece in the middle that's like really awesome, and it's probably the best part of the movie. So I would check this one out if I were you, if you could get your hands on it. And then we got two that are more popular, for sure. More popular. Got Train to Busan, of course. I had this on DVD for a while. I just never had it on Blu-ray. And I noticed that when I was going through my collection one day. I'm like, I really need to get this on Blu-ray. There's really no excuse. And this is the Well Go USA, finally an American release of something that I picked up. Region A. Special features are kind of limited, but you get behind the scenes and a little like featurette and a trailer. But yeah, if you haven't seen Train to Busan, it's pretty fantastic. Zombie flick. I mean, what else is there to say? I have a review of it on my channel. And then we get the modern masterpiece, Peninsula. A lot of people hate this one. A lot of people hate it. The sequel, basically, to Train to Busan, right? And when I first saw it, I was like, the trailer was pretty good. Like, the trailer was solid, but I kept hearing really dicey things about it before I got a chance to watch it. And so my expectations were lowered a little bit for Peninsula. And so when I watched it, I just went in, without expecting it to be as good as Train to Busan, and I actually liked it. I have a review of this on my channel as well. And there's the atmosphere in this is actually really good. Like, the way the scenes are lit at night, I think, are pretty phenomenal. Like, you could see everything, but it's like still moody. Some of the action horror scenes are pretty good. Some of them are pretty good. CGI really hurts it, though. It does hurt it. But I don't know. I still kind of like this. It's a far cry from Train to Busan. But this is one I could definitely sit through. Definitely on multiple occasions. So that's why I got it. And it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of special. You get a making of, interviews, and trailers. And that's about it. Yeah. So that's the Korean haul. Got a mix of new and semi-new. I'd say from all the new ones in that, like the highest priority would be a mix of Grotesque Mansion or Dead Man's Prey. If you want like a traditional horror anthology, just check out Grotesque Mansion. If you want more of like an actiony thriller horror hybrid, you do Dead Man's Prey. Let's get to Japan here. This was actually a pretty huge pickup. I'm wondering if I mentioned this in my community tab last year when I picked it up. But this is a Region 3 Korean release, but it has the original Japanese language and English subtitles of Puzzle. And this is the one from Eisuke Naito. Probably his hallmark movie, I would say. His I guess, highest priority film to check out. It would be this and Liverleaf. And Liverleaf is just tough to find. But if you could still find this on eBay, I got this on eBay, you may be able to still find a few Region 3 releases up there with English subtitles. If you can, you buy this, like, immediately. This is definitely one of the more, I would say, entertaining Japanese horror thrillers of the past decade. And it's set up almost like a death game type setup, where some people are trapped in a school and they're getting killed by playing these games and stuff. And you're like, well, we've seen a bunch of movies like that from Japan, but this one is actually quite different. A little bit more demented and more interesting as well. Yeah, so if you have not seen Puzzle, check it out. It's a really cool flick. No special features, of course. We got a classic here, a little Criterion Collection Region A Blu-ray of Coroneko. I have not seen this movie in a while. I do have a review of it on my channel, a separate review. The plot in this one, it says, in this poetic and atmospheric horror fable set in a village in war-torn feudal Japan, malevolent spirits are ripping out the throats of itinerant samurai. When a military hero is dispatched to confront the unseen force, he finds that he must struggle with personal demons as well. And this is from the director of Onibaba. So if you're a fan of that one, this is another one. I actually think I've always thought this movie is actually superior to some of the other more popular Japanese horror films from the 60s, like Onibaba and Kwaidan. I really enjoy this one. Lots of atmosphere. And it's actually just a really good quality flick. This was from 1968. Then you get some digital restoration, a video interview with Kaneto Shindo, a video interview with a critic, a trailer, and a booklet featuring essays. So it's a pretty good release of this one. This is it's a Blu-ray. So check it out if you're into classic films. This is pretty much a must-watch. Then we have the Mondo Macabro Region A Blu-ray release of Hiruko the Goblin, Shinya Tsukamoto. I like this red case. Yeah, this is one of the Tsukamoto films that it took a while to warm up to me. It did. It was one of my least favorite Tsukamoto films for a while. And then I revisited it like years later, and I liked it a little bit more, and now I genuinely do enjoy it. It's a low-budget, like, monster mash flick, really. You have a guy, an archaeologist, disgraced among his peers for his theories on the supernatural, and then he goes to an ancient burial ground on the grounds of a local high school, and these little goblins come out and start killing people. And him and one of the students need to take the goblins down. Well, some of the physical effects and special effects in this are pretty neat. And maybe a little slow at times. The pacing's a bit slow, but some of the death scenes are cool. Some of the other aspects in the film are pretty neat. Tsukamoto is my favorite director of all time. So if you're planning on exploring his stuff, this is probably not a high priority, but it's one that you'll eventually want to check out, I would say. And this has a new interview, an archival interview with the director, special effects creator interview, special effects featurette, which I haven't seen the featurettes on this yet. Audio commentary by Tom Mess, which is always good. 20-page full-color booklet, and some previews. So yeah, if you're going to dig into Tsukamoto, you do like, I would say, Gemini, Vital, Tokyo Fist, Tetsuo, stuff like that. Snake of June. And then eventually you'll get to this. Good release, though. Another big-time release here. I kind of waited a little bit on this one. But, we got Versus. Versus. A pretty sweet cover on that one, huh? It's pretty sweet. It's the Arrow release, Blu-ray release. And it's pretty much loaded with special features. And, if you're not familiar with this movie, I don't know what's going on, because this is one of Ryohei Kitamura's, quintessential movies. And, you get a bunch of convicts and, bad guys, and then, a girl, and a few, cops, I guess you could call them, agents, who go after these guys, and they're all in, this forest, and zombies resurrect, and all. It just gets nuts. Completely nuts. It's funny. All the zombie movies I've covered tonight are completely different. They're completely different. You have, Train to Busan, right? And Peninsula are kind of similar, but they're same franchise. And then you got Versus, which is totally different. And then you got Dead Man's Prey, which is totally different. So it's kind of neat. We have some diversity in the zombie genre here. And this includes the Ultimate Verses, which is like the extended cut where they went back and filmed more scenes a few years after making the movie. The special features, there's so many, it would take me all day. All I remember is that I listened to a few of these audio commentaries from Kitamura from back in the DVD days. His commentaries are really funny. He's very entertaining. You know, I almost kind of wish he just stayed in Japan and kept making like lower budget like stuff. Because once he came to the U.S., his career has gradually declined. But yeah, there's the inside for you if you want to see the inside there. Very solid release. Here's another big one that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about. Not surprising, but also a little concerning, but Hideki, Evil Dead Trap 2, and this is the Unearthed release. Unearthed Classics. Now, Evil Dead Trap, I still think needs more attention than it already gets. People kind of know about it, they kind of hear about it, but I think it should be bigger. And this sequel is a totally different movie. I remember when I first saw the sequel, I was disappointed in it because it was just so different. It's almost like watching Tetsuo 2 after Tetsuo. You know, it's like just a different movie. And this one is different from the first Evil Dead Trap because it's not really a movie about Evil Dead traps anymore. You know, you get a killer on the loose in Japan, young women being horribly mutilated. A young woman works as a film projectionist and she's haunted by a ghost. And then you basically have women, 2 or 3 women, descend into into madness. And some of the violence in this movie is like it gets nasty. It gets nasty. Very unconventional lead character in this. It's like a character who's you just don't see being the lead in movies very often. And when you see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't think this is quite as purely entertaining as the first film, Evil Dead Trap, but I think a lot of people should check this out. It's actually really, it's a very impactful and intense movie. Kind of grimy, too. You get photo gallery and trailers are the only special features, but we get the movie, so that's really all that counts. Yeah, if anybody's seen this, let me know what you think. I think this is a pretty solid movie, actually. Then we do a newer one. This is another DDD house purchase. Region 3 release with English subs, and that is Cube, the Japanese remake of the Canadian horror film. Now, most of the reviews online have skewered this film. A lot of people hate it. I think it's not bad. I think it's actually a watchable flick. It's better than most American remakes of Japanese horror films, which isn't saying much, but I think it is. Check out my full-length review. I just reviewed it a few weeks ago. I think the problem with this movie is the lack of impact. It doesn't really impact you a lot. It looks cool. The set designs are cool. There's a few pretty good death scenes here and there. But I think it's just the original film, Cube, did a better job of kind of finishing off, strong. Whereas this movie just kind of whimpers out near the end, which I think is probably its biggest problem. But yeah, I still like it. It's pretty cool. It's got some, like I said, some good color schemes and atmosphere and stuff like that. And of course, the plot is about a group of people who wake up in a giant cube. This is basically a little cube that's like the size of a kitchen, like this. And then you go through a little door, and then you're in another cube that's the size of a kitchen. Then you got to keep going through these little cubes in a giant cube and try to figure out how to get out. But I think this movie's not bad. It's pretty good. And then the last Japanese one we got is a big release. Big time release. Who released it? Discotheque Media gets some representation. for Uzumaki. One of the most original films I've ever seen. Visually, this movie is just absolutely insane. It's about a town full of people who become obsessed with spiral patterns and are perhaps being haunted by spiral patterns. And just, I mean, it's just, this movie's just visually just intoxicating, I guess I would call it. It's got a green tinted hue that's really, really nice. The lead actress is quite good. I always liked her. She should have been in more movies, actually, more higher profile films. Eriko Hatsune. Yeah, but this is a must-watch. If you're at all interested in Japanese horror, you have to watch Uzumaki. Some people are a little, I guess, cool on it in terms of whether, they think it's just okay. Some people love it. I read the manga. I really like the manga, and I really like the movie. So, you get behind-the-scenes camcorder footage, a commentary that's... I listened to the commentary from Higuchinsky. He only talks like once every 5 minutes. He'll say like 1 or 2 sentences every 5 minutes. So it's a very sparse commentary. But he did mention some interesting stuff. And then you get a trailer. So yeah, this is a must-watch. Especially on Blu-ray, this movie looks really good. And then we got one Thai movie and a small batch of Indonesian. The Thai movie, one of the best Thai horror films of the past decade, The Maid. If you decide to watch this, do not read anything about it. Don't even read a plot synopsis, because some plot synopsis spoil it. Can't even show you the back of the Blu-ray. I really can't. I mean, come on, guys. Even the critic, it's like a fraction of a sentence, and he kind of spoils it. So yeah, the Thai film The Maid, all right, I think from 2021, I think, or right around there. Watch it, all right, just watch it, and let me know what you think in the comments section. I'd say this is a must-watch. I'm not even going to tell you what the plot synopsis is. If you really need to know more, you check out my full-length review. I don't spoil it. But if you trust me, just go into this completely blind. And this is it has deleted scenes on the Blu-ray, which is nice. And it's all-region Blu-ray as well, which is nice. So check it out. I think that's a crowd pleaser of a movie. And then we got the rest of these are all Joko Anwar films. So we got one of them isn't, and that's this one. The original Saint and Slave. I just put up a review of this. This is a Severin release. Nice to see some companies like Severin and Vinegar Syndrome release some Asian horror movies. That's very nice. I'm very happy about that. Even if they're duplicating some stuff that the UK is coming out with. But yeah, I just reviewed this a few weeks ago. Check out my review. This is a all-region Blu-ray. Get an interview with a producer, interview with the screenwriter, an interview with Joko Anwar, who directed the remake, which we'll get to in a minute, and then some short films inspired by Satan's Slave by the remake director. Interesting. I actually haven't seen those short films by Joko. I'll have to check that out on here. But yeah, this is a good flick. If you're into, I don't even know how to describe it. Just check out my review. And then we have the remake Satan's Slaves, as well as Impetigore, which are Joko's last few horror films that have gotten a U.S. release on Blu-ray. Both of these are very solid movies. I actually like the remake of Satan's Slaves more than the original. I do. And then Impetigore is another really good, supernatural, horror flick. Separate reviews of both of these on my channel, so check them out if you want more info. I would say if you're interested in supernatural, spirit-type stuff, try check out both of these. This double pack is like from I don't know who released this, but it's a U.S. release, all region DVD. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Just get both of these for a decent price with English subs. If you're interested in supernatural horror or just Indonesian horror or Southeast Asian horror, they're pretty money. Not much in terms of special features, though. And then finally, what is likely the most anticipated Blu-ray release of a horror film in the last 10 years for me, maybe. At least an American release. Been waiting for this to come out for a decade. And then is The Forbidden Door from Joko Anwar. And this is a 2009 horror film, psychological horror flick. This was released by Severin. And, again, the highest recommendation I can give you is this movie. I mean, it's got, it's a very psychological slant to it. It has some, I guess I would say some commentary on, like, masculinity and, like, relationships between men and women. And, because this lead character's wife just dominates his life in this movie. She really does. It's really interesting. And then it's got some dodgy acts of violence in it. That's the only thing I'd warn you on. But this is a really cool flick. I really enjoy it. Probably my favorite Indonesian horror film of all time. It's gotta be. But, yes, there's audio commentary with Joko Anwar. An interview with Joko. Deleted and extended scenes with optional commentary. And Joko doesn't give you his explanation of anything in this. I think he mentions a few times in the movie he doesn't like doing that, but he gives you some hints. He gives you some hints in here. And I highly recommend Forbidden Door. It's awesome. And that's it. That's most of the horror films I bought over the past year, the Asian ones. So if you've seen any of these, or you want to give your thoughts on a few of them, let me know what you think. Got some really, really good stuff in this, I think. Some classics, some newer stuff. And most of the stuff is still available if you want to, treat yourself over the holiday season. And as always, I will see you next time.